Hello there and thanks for watching. This video is going to be about anatomy, biology, and irreducible complexity. I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that these three things show that we were created, that there's a designer behind everything that we see, that the universe and our bodies and the animals and plants and the entire ecosystem was created by God. This takes us right back to Genesis, where Genesis explains that basically a supernatural spirit with intelligence has created the world that we know. In Genesis, it explains that the animals were created by God, the earth was created by God, human beings were created by God. It says that God formed man from the dust of the earth. And today we know that our bodies are composed of the elements. If you look on the periodical table of elements, it lists all the elements that we have, and all those elements are found in the dust of the earth. We came from the dust of the earth and we will return to the dust of the earth. Today that's a well-known fact in science that our bodies decompose and we return to the dust of the earth, just like the scripture says. And also in Genesis it explains that it's through God's wisdom and knowledge that He established the universe. When you look closely at anatomy of all the different animals as well as humans, you can see that our skeletons were designed to hold weight. And there's even curves in the bones so that the bones can hold more weight. There's all kinds of little tiny details when you study these subjects that you're going to see how complex it goes. And this is the other thing that we need to talk about, is irreducible complexity. It doesn't seem to matter how small of a scale you go, you're always going to see extremely complex designs. It's almost like little factories on a small scale, and we just see the mechanics and the wisdom even at a small scale that it just defies human logic. We as humans, we can study it, we know a little bit about it, and it's good to learn about those things and to learn as much as we can and study it as much as we can, but the bottom line is we just don't understand it. At the end of the day, we cannot create one single cell, we cannot create one blade of grass, we can't create one seed that actually hatches and grows, and yet the Lord covers the earth with lush foliage and plants and animals, and it's pretty obvious that His wisdom is behind all these things, that He has designed all these things, and it is through His wisdom that He was able to create the physical world as we know. It's a fascinating subject when you start looking at this irreducible complexity and just how complex it actually is. There was a time when scientists used to believe that the smaller we went, the easier it would become, that it was a simple process that we could shrink down to a small scale and study like simple building blocks and simple things that all work together to form, life and organisms and human beings and living creatures. But what we found was it almost gets more complex the smaller you go. It's still like little factories, it's still like little concept, even turbine engines. There's all kinds of things on a small scale that we just would never be able to reproduce. We'd never be able to create it ourselves. And so this is why I believe that these three things, anatomy, biology, and irreducible complexity, show beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's a creator behind the universe. And it's a supernatural spirit that we know as God, and that He formed the first human beings. And it goes back to the story of Adam and Eve, and a lot of people will scoff and laugh, and I always hear the story, oh well, God done it, you're just taking the easy way out, you just say, oh, God done it. Well, you know what, that is what I say, and that actually is the truth, that God did do it. And if you don't like it, there's not much I can say. It is the reality. God did it. His mind was able to do it, not ours. Humans would never be able to reproduce what God has produced. We don't have the knowledge, we don't have the wisdom. And so as I show these pictures in this video, just look at the detail, look at the complexity, look at how impossible it would be for a human to produce something like this that actually works. You got to remember, this actually works. God knows life inside and out. He knows how to create life, He knows how to take it away, He can raise people back from the dead. He understands DNA, He understands the chromosomes, He understands the cells, He understands all of this stuff inside out. we can't even comprehend how smart God actually is. And you can see it in the details. You can see what he's produced. You can see on the scale that he has done these things. We can just look at life and just basic biology even. Just the living creatures as they do their thing around the earth. Just have a look at them. It just screams that we have a creator. The whole universe just screams that we have a creator. And, like I say, as we look at our human bodies even, the complexity of the human body, we've got the rib cage that houses and protects the organs, the skull, which houses the brain and protects the brain like a helmet. It goes on, and the reproductive system. It says in the beginning that God created them male and female. And this had to have occurred, or no animal species would even make it to the second generation. The sex organs could not have been formed slowly over time. They had to have been there right at the start, or nothing would have made it to the second generation. And it says God created them male and female. And you can see this as well in nature. It's a beautiful thing. You can see that, he created them male and female, and it takes a male and a female to reproduce. And even the attraction and the hormones and everything like that. So many little details that God has made work. With his wisdom, he's created systems in every living creature that work. And so for people to deny that there's design and order and extreme planning and wisdom in every living creature, it's ridiculous to even attempt to deny these things. And like I say, the more you study microbiology and just even the basic things that we know as humans about it, you come away just shocked when you realize like how much detail and how much wisdom went into every little living thing, and on such a small scale. And it's just a fascinating subject. And the problem is these days is a lot of people will reject the scripture. They don't like the story of Genesis. It's too simple for them. They think it's too simple, it's too basic. Only a fool would believe such a simple story. They're not looking at the actual possibility that it's actually not being a simpleton. It's actually just reality. Like, how can you deny that there's wisdom and intelligence in all these things that is far beyond human capacity, far beyond our human brains can handle. We actually can't handle the wisdom that went into even one living creature. And then we've got all these species all over Earth that reproduce, and they're all part of an ecosystem, and the entire ecosystem fits together. And it's just like the Swiss watch argument. If you find a Swiss watch in the desert, you can look at that Swiss watch and you know that it did not put itself together through luck and chance. Somebody designed it. All the parts, they're too complex. They all fit together too well. You know when you see a Swiss watch that somebody has designed it. And it's the same thing with all of creation. We can see that there's a creator behind it. We can see that wisdom and intelligence went into all of these things, just like the Bible explains. And like I say, even back to Adam and Eve, where God formed Adam from the dust of the earth and breathed the breath of life into him, and man became a living soul, able to reproduce, able to live on. And to this day, the offspring of Adam are here, and we are the offspring of Adam as well. And so let them scoff, let them laugh, let these evolutionists, just let them rant. All we got to do as Christians is just show the evidence and show God's creation. The entire creation is witness that we have a creator. It's evidence that God is real. I'm going to end this video now, but thanks for watching, and God bless you.